Alright, hey everyone, thank you for stopping by my channel. I'm just, popping on here rambling, there might be some gaffes or, probably not going to play everything perfect. I'm not claiming to be any kind of advanced guitarist, right? I'm just here sharing whatever my experiences are and maybe giving some extra insights or getting some feedback from those of you that listen in, listen to me ramble. But this video just talking about what makes an advanced guitarist, in my opinion. What makes, really, in my opinion, is really all about the music, the musical ideas. And, from my perspective, a lot of people, everybody has their own perspective on what maybe makes good music or what they want to hear, right? What they want to hear is also a factor, right? Just because music might seem like, hey, this person's a really great player, this person's really advanced, they are able to play high technique, highly complicated riffs and, ideas and so forth, but are they necessarily what I want to hear? That's another question, I ask myself. It's a big question when it comes to music, Yeah, it's great to be able to play every little scale, but are you able to harmonize? Are you able to come up with a good rhythm section or idea? Those are, in my opinion, almost the bigger deal, right? Because, the melody's almost like an afterthought in a certain sense. But the melody is a big deal, right? It's, it's kind of like a hook. But a rhythm can be a hook. So my perspective, it's kind of like you can't really define one thing. It's about being proficient at some area of it, and also being at least adequate in all your other areas. Being super proficient in one area, maybe, and a lot of times for me, it's just about, like I said, the musicality, the musical idea that comes out of something. So if I hear like a chord progression, or even if it's, right now I'm going to drop D tuning, so which I play a lot. So I can play a lot of easy power chords. I come with a lot of complicated chords, and all kinds of stuff in there, but a lot of times it comes down to just really a basic bass line, right? A rhythm section, or some kind of rhythm section or bass notes is kind of really the foundation of our song in many cases, right? So we have to come up with that kind of, in our mind, right? And a lot of times for a guitarist, I think the guitarist will kind of play the guitar first before coming up with the idea, and I think it's good for us to kind of reverse engineer that to come up with new ideas and ideas that really come from our mind, right? If we're playing a bass line, thinking of a bass line in our head, right? And then trying to translate it to our instrument like a guitar, right? So that's, in my opinion, something that helps to make a good instrumentalist, a good guitarist, right? Is being able to transfer an idea from their mind and onto the guitar, right? Thinking of an idea before they put it on the guitar, right? Instead of just picking up the guitar and trying to come up with riffs, right? Which is cool, but a lot of times, if you really kind of think about an idea in your mind, or maybe you've heard a song you've heard before in the distance, or maybe some music that you can't really remember, you can't identify what it is because it's in the distance or at a really low volume, and you pick up on some little slight elements of the bass line, right? That can give you an idea for, maybe a different song, right? Maybe, you're not hearing the song close enough to like copy it. You're just hearing a vague idea from a distance or at a low volume that could give you new musical ideas, right? Bass lines to start another idea with, right? So those are elements for me that I think kind of help with creativity. But being an advanced guitarist, obviously there's a lot of technique, learning a lot of scales, knowing how to do all the little nuanced techniques like hammer on and pull off and glissando and sustain and alternate picking, right? And do alternate picking, down up with the picking hand really strict when you're playing up and down the fretboard, and being able to play clearly and enunciate your notes well, and vibrato, and but like I said, harmonizing is really where I think it's really the foundation is at, right? Being able to think of it. Think of a good chord passage. That's nothing I would consider to be special. It takes a lot of fleshing out ideas to really, like when you have an advanced guitar player sits there and really fleshes out all kinds of experimental chord changes. I got a lot of distortion on here. I can turn up my gain. This amp isn't the best amp, but it's decent. Needs a little bit of work, a little bit of repair, but think of a good melody line. If you can come up with an like a cappella, right? Guitarists can come up with a good. I think you try to think of an idea that's kind of a cappella melody line. Get a little bit of sound feedback there. You might play with some scales or thinking of some melody. Some kind of melody line in your head, or try to come up with something on the guitar, right? But really, if you don't have nothing to harmonize it to, it's kind of really hard to come up with something that really hits, musically really good. You got to have some thudding bass, some thudding bass line, some rhythm sections, some chords. Advanced guitar players, they can play around with different chords and stay in the same key well. Or try to come up with good different rhythm pieces. It means also really learn how to play those different rhythm styles, right? Learn how to strum the chords in different ways, and there might be some kind of like gallop, or more of a straight downstroke power chord type of approach, or maybe it's kind of like an arpeggio. So you can't see the guitar very well from here. Let me get a slightly better angle, but these are just a few of the fundamentals I think that most guitarists learn, right? Learning how to make arpeggios and playing arpeggios. Different ways of playing arpeggios, and also some hybrid picking to help give you the element of both a rhythm and potentially a melody or extra melody line or chords, chordal notes that go along with maybe that bass. Something. It's not like I'm, have a particular composition in mind. But the idea is, you play around with the bass notes while you're playing a melody line or going off a chord, is staying at the center. It could be the other way around. The bass stays, in the same place, basic elementary. I'm just doing this off the fly, but you may try to think of a pedal note that, and then it maybe changes after a few bars. chord, right? And each bass line has a chord that goes to each note, right? So you're playing in a C, you're playing a C bass note. If you're playing in the key of C major, then a C major chord might go with it. If you're playing in another key, like let's play in C minor, which might go with like E flat major kind of key, right? E flat major, key of E flat major, which would also be the same notes as in the key of C minor, right? But you're playing different notes with the key of C minor. All of a sudden, you might play a C minor chord, the 1-4-5-ish type of in the minor, though, right? So I'm doing a minor sevens there, so. But yeah, just like experimenting a lot, and that's why I think for the guitarist especially, it's a big deal because you have different voicings for your chords. And, don't get me wrong, in the piano you can play different voicings, but it's just not quite the same. It's because when you're on the guitar, you're maybe playing a note on a different string, so it has a slightly different timbre. Maybe it's the same note. You take this note right here. This is a C sharp. We're in a C sharp, and I want to play it down here on this A string. Right? It's gonna have a slightly different. Here it has a different timbre. It's the same note. Maybe it's a little pretty on point. C sharp, right? So it's the same note, but it has a different sound there than it does over here, right? So if I'm playing a riff, which way? How am I playing it? And that's the reason why the guitarist needs to experiment. Like a lot of practice, right? It really goes a long way, right? And kind of diving deep and whenever possible and saying, hey, I'm going to learn this little lesson or practice this, something that seems a little out of the box, or go back to the basics, right? And play a lot of basic finger exercises. Practicing your most basic movements where it's easy to get lost when you're starting to play a lot of different songs and music. Might forget a lot of our basic finger exercises and lose our touch with them. Like I'm not doing perfect exercise right there. If I sit there and maybe do it a little slower or more focused, right now on a video, just giving you some ideas on maybe giving you some practice ideas, maybe giving you your ideas on what you feel like is good practice ideas for you. I tell people to really do a lot of the basic exercises and then experiment with them. Do different variations. These are just simple variations, but also like hammer-ons, or just all kinds of variations, and kind of getting pretty good with each little specific movement a bit, because it'll give you a lot of ability to pick up on a riff that you hear in a song that might be more, a little fast-paced, hard to pick up on. And, a good guitarist can pick up and learn a song by ear pretty quick, right? And then maybe they won't get every note exactly on the string it was originally played on, but they can pick up every note, right? A good guitarist can learn all songs, most every part of a song by ear, right? Learning the bass notes in the song. What is the bass doing? What is the bass in that song doing? Humming along with it. That's, for me, in my opinion, another big deal for a guitarist is to internalize the notes a lot, right? And really for any musician, internalizing the notes is a big deal. That means, humming to them and matching the notes, and vice versa. Maybe playing a note with singing a note and trying to find it on the guitar, like, or, actually, it seems like it's, actually got the right note the first time. It seems like E note. That's just kind of random, doing that back and forth helps to develop our ear, right? So you got to get the finger exercises down into the scales. guitarist can play in basically any key, virtually any part of the fretboard at any time. The very good guitarist knows at least the 7 modes of a major key, right? The diatonic modes of a major diatonic key, but also, embellishes upon it, learns the minor versions and the different notes that they start on, right? And tries to play those in different places on the fretboard, so you can get a good bit of versatility when you're playing solos. You're playing solos, and good guitarist can solo and freestyle to virtually any chord progression or bass line with any kind of reasonable melody or harmony to it that, a lot of times, should be really difficult to come up with something in the realm, because you know how to identify your key, you know how to identify the key your song is in, and you also know how to do some finger, you can do some finger movements on the fretboard, right? So you're not totally, using a pick a lot of times, but also without a pick, right? Trying to do some arpeggios. Your guitarist has at least some reasonable usage of these fingers down here. They're not just totally a pick shredder. I could get much better sound out of this if I tweak it a bit. But thanks for stopping by the way, and I appreciate you being here. Just maybe you get something out of this, or you have some input that helps other players that maybe happen to listen. I'm not like, any kind of, performing player or anything like that, but I do like to play, and I really love music, so I listen to not necessarily a huge variety of music. I do. I'm open to different music. I listen to a little bit of the electronic stuff, but it's been out the last couple decades. But really a lot of my roots are in grunge and progressive rock, right? So, but at the same time, I do recognize the elements of a keyboard, a drum machine, or some beat machines, and coming up with cut up, put stuff together, kind of a little bit of a DJ mindset to music, right? Certainly, I don't dismiss any possibilities of something sounding good, right? Because in my opinion, that's really the biggest element of music, is does it sound like something I want to listen to, right? That's in my opinion almost the most important element, because sometimes it's really a little simple thing that's making something sound very interesting, right? Or something can sound very complicated, not really that interesting, right? Does that mean we dismiss the complicated? Absolutely not. You want to get very advanced and even complex with your compositions, yeah, but at the same time, don't ignore the basics, right? Go back to the basics, learn how to harmonize, and try to identify notes and intervals that go in that key, or a key that would go with that note. Try to harmonize, right, and play try to hit different notes in the chord. It's a low note, A note. Excuse me. My throat's in the best condition. But, get the idea is to match your notes, learn parts of chords, right? Learning the structure to chords. And, it's not like it's super complicated, but it does take some memorizing and, stay on top of your game a little bit, right? So, excuse me, taking a quick break, but, stacking the deck in your favor, right? Stacking the deck in your favor as much as you can, right? Giving you everything that you can in your arsenal. Right, so just going maybe on other videos and just learning a new exercise that you never did before, or you weren't open to, you didn't really think is something you'll use much, but it might add an extra facet. So that's a big deal for me, in my opinion, is just really being open, right? Not feeling like we know everything. We have to really be open. And listen to a guitarist I always dismissed. Just try them out. Hey, listen to me. See, what did they do here? Maybe what got so much attention on this song or this album? Trying to find out, discover something new, right? Discover something new, and try to apply it to your playing to really give yourself something outside of your tunnel vision, right? Because it's easy for a guitarist, especially in my opinion, any musician, but guitarists are kind of the types that You know, a lot of us grew up in the garage or the bedroom, dark, playing, you know, dark and stuff like that, and just alone, right, isolated. Where I think a lot of other musicians kind of get, you know, elements of playing with other people or in some kind of band. Like if you play a clarinet or something like that, you're more likely to maybe play in a band at school or something. Or I'm not claiming to know. You know, the guitarist is more about, you know, if you have dreams of becoming a rock star or something like that, or playing on stage as a, you know, clarinet player might be more thinking about they're playing for a symphony, or they're playing with this, you know, an orchestra or something like that, and might have a slightly different feel than maybe, you know, the typical electric guitar player. You know, oftentimes a young guy or somebody that's into rock music, right? Not necessarily just guys, obviously, but it's just, you know, you get the concept. Maybe it's a somewhat, you know, testosterone driven feel of playing, you know, a loud guitar, right? But it shouldn't be just a testosterone driven thing. It should be, you know, in my opinion, that's the thing that goes wrong with a lot of rock music and some of the hardcore music. It doesn't go wrong. Everybody has their own opinions. Everybody has what they like. But a lot of the hardcore rock guitar music out there, it plays a lot of the stuff that comes from classical music. It's not like it's, you know, the people don't know anything that they're doing or anything like that. But it doesn't necessarily always have the harmonies, in my opinion, that go into making a really good song or a really memorable moment in a song. You know, you think about some of the grunge bands, in my opinion, that did kind of bring a bit of that back, where before that it was a bit of the hair bands. They weren't like they didn't know how to play music, or the guitarist didn't know how to play guitar. They oftentimes were very good. But a lot of times it got a little bit too glitzy, maybe, for it kind of died out because, you know, everybody got tired of shred guitar for a while, right? In the late 80s and maybe the 90s, whatever. So all of a sudden the 90s came along, and then there's maybe a little bit of something new coming around. There was, you know, obviously Nirvana kind of was the big deal. But before that, there was still other stuff. You know, Mudhoney, but Soundgarden was around for a while. And, you know, a lot of the grunge stuff came in there and kind of started slowing that down a bit, adding more of a deeper, darker feel, right? You know, the idea of, you know, maybe like the, you know, like Lane Staley and Alice in Chains, you know, and out Soundgarden, they sung about drug addiction a lot, right? So you know, you think about the kind of place it's coming from, where the previous stuff was kind of more about, you know, being a rock star with the long hair, no more on plenty of drug addiction and all that stuff. But it didn't really come from so much a dark place. I think a lot of the hair bands come from a party type of place, you know, party type of backward, you know, the mindset of, you know, like, you know, there's bands like Poison and stuff like that. They're probably kind of getting towards that range. But in the 80s, I think a lot of those, you know, the bands were, you know, ballads, you know what I mean? And coming from a party perspective, and kind of we are the, you know, like a lot of liberalism influence in that kind of rock music. But I think that when grunge scene came out, it came out more of an independent type of feel in terms of just the tone where the music is coming from. So it wasn't necessarily all about crazy techniques. And it wasn't necessarily playing the blues either, right? It was playing kind of just this folksy but grungy rock sounds, where a lot of the rock, you know, obviously then when Tool comes out, you know, Tool was like a prog rock, you know, like a hard version of Pink Floyd or something like that, maybe, you know, with a lot of, you know, some harder riffs, but still in that kind of somewhat psychedelic direction. You know, that's what makes a great guitarist, in my opinion. Someone like Adam Jones, right? Adam Jones, he's able to really think. He thinks in terms of, like, you know, scenes of a movie, right? So every passage is about a riff. It's about a riff, you know. He's not just playing, you know, he's playing a lot of classical sounding guitar. That's why he's a very good classical, I would say, guitarist. And I think he grew up playing cello, so he probably learned a bit of classical music, right? But then when he got on the guitar, he applies that, you know, that gain and the sustain, and starts playing stuff like, I don't know, Black Sabbath or something, and starts, you know, really turning up the volume. And now he's a rock guy, right? He's a rock guitar guy, and he's not necessarily probably playing the same way he did on a cello, right? He's playing these guitar passages like scenes from a movie, or passages in a a storytelling type of thing, but in an abstract sense, right? So, the vocals that Maynard comes up with can be pretty esoteric, mysterious, and not concrete, right? They're very abstract. They can leave you open to interpretation a bit. And that's my opinion is also a good quality for a lot of songwriting and music, is to be able to write poetically and leave a bit open to interpretation or mystery or need for discovery, right? What is a song about? What is that song talking? What is he talking about in the song, right? That can be a very moving element. So yeah, being able to add, like, even if you're not like writing or even singing lyrics as a guitarist, though, you have this lyrical sense of maybe telling a story with your guitar. Just whatever kind of, I'm not thinking of any particular theme. I'm just saying, you're kind of trying to tell a story with your storyline. Your rhythm is trying to come up with a deep change, right? A deep change that happens in the music. There's changes, right? It's a big deal, right? Having a bridge or a change in your music, right? Having dynamic to the guitar playing. Sometimes you're muting, sometimes you're letting things ring out more. Being able to use those different elements of the guitar playing. It's not just about plucking your string and fretting the strings, but also, tweaking, different elements of the muting of the strings and string scrapes, adding some bells and whistles into your playing, right? Yeah, excuse me, I have birds in the background. But, there's just some rambling about what I think that makes, a good guitarist. I think that some of the things that guitarists will practice, obviously, learning scales and modes. And, learning basic chords, learning the 12 basic notes and how to derive a key from any note, right? From any note. The basics, the 2 whole steps, the half step, and the 3 whole steps and a half step that make up a major key, right? Being able to apply that anywhere on the fretboard, right? Being able to apply that anywhere on your fretboard, right? So you can get into a guitar player session, if someone says B flat, minor, you can go right to, B flat, minor, and start playing. In that key, right? So you can start coming up with stuff in that key to play along with the song. So, but anyway, let me know what you get out of this, if anything at all, and maybe you didn't get anything, but maybe you wasted your time, I don't know, but hey, I appreciate you listening in. I certainly welcome you back to another video, and I maybe just, want to hear your feedback on what you feel like makes a really good guitarist, helps them get to the highest levels. What are some of the things that you feel like you practiced the most? Maybe some exercises that you practiced, some people that you feel like you studied the most, that gave you the most headway in terms of advancing your guitar playing, or your ability to come up with melodies or songs, right? To come up with ideas, And like I said, that's, in my opinion, really what makes a good guitarist. Is being able to come up with ideas, right? Like what I say, Adam Jones from Tool, he does a lot of this. Like I said, mindset of a riff, right? You're playing riffs, yeah. I mean, you're getting really good at guitar, yeah, but you're not like doing it just to show off. You're doing it to tell a story. You're doing it to tell a story, right? So that's my opinion, possibly the most important thing about our music, the harmonizing and being able to tell some kind of story, some kind of emotion, some kind of feeling that it's trying to convey in that piece. Anyway, Micah here. Thanks for listening in. We'll probably maybe see you on the next video, or see you in another video if you happen to be around YouTube, or if you happen to see this video somewhere else. I certainly welcome you back to the channel. Alright, thanks so much. See you next time.